I think I finally figured it all out. Took me a while. I apologize. I'm technologically challenged. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me? Awesome. Okay, so they asked me to do this live feed, and I'm just going to kind of tell you my story, kind of who I am, how I got to be here, what it means to me, and why I'm still here. So my story itself is kind of a crying story. And I'm a crier, I'm a hugger. So just be forewarned if I start crying, I'll be okay. I guess the best answer to who I am is I am me. I am a Christian. I am a widow. I am a mom. I'm an ICU nurse. I'm a horse lover. We've got horses in our backyard. I'm a different kind of person. On top of all that, I am disabled. Excuse me. Been having some throat issues all day. I am disabled. I'm missing a leg. So I guess that's kind of part of why people feel that I'm inspiring, because I do so much with my leg. But when this happened to me, and I'll get into that, when this happened to me, I am a stubborn, hard-headed person, and I'm one of those people that I don't let people tell me what I can't do. And I listened to the doctor tell me that I wasn't going to ride a bike. I was never going to drive a stick shift. I wasn't going to be climbing flights of stairs. He listed all of these things that I wasn't going to do. And I told myself that I was going to accomplish all of those. And I did. And that's kind of how my personality is, and how it developed. It kind of blossomed from there. Let me backtrack to the beginning. I am not born in South Louisiana. I am a transplant. I was born in Charleston, South Carolina. That's where I grew up. A military brat, traveled, different places. And when my parents got divorced, we ended up back in Charleston because that's where my mom loved it. She remarried. I had two awesome parents that instilled independence, and I guess I'm just a different. I'm not one of those frou-frou girls that does her hair and her nails. I'd rather be shooting guns, riding horses, and stuff like that. So, I'm just a different kind of person, and a lot of that is my awesome upbringing from two wonderful parents. God couldn't have given me two better parents. Um, So after high school, I married into an Air Force guy, and um, got my management degree. We transferred overseas. Well, I had my daughter back in here in the States, and then we transferred overseas to Germany, and we were stationed in Buchel, Germany, which was a detachment of Spangdahl and Bitburg, for any of the military people out there. And we were over there. I was working as a military spouse at the commissary, and I was on my way home from work one day, and if you've never been to Germany, there's a lot of hills there. So I was puttering, my little tuna can on wheels up a hill, and a drunk driver came from around a corner, and he swerved into my lane, hit me head on. We kind of ended up like at vertical angles to each other, and I was stunned for a minute, and I remember a lot about that accident. You will hear me reference God a lot, and I know that God was there, and He saved me. I was in a tiny, tiny town that this happened in, like maybe 100 people, if that, in this town. And when this happened, the only doctor in the town happened to be home on leave, and right around the corner, she heard the crash. She came running. Not to be very graphic, but the whole right side of my body was torn up bad. And I remember seeing her tell the guy in German, and at that point I spoke enough German to get by. She told him to take off his shirt and take off his belt, and he starts stripping, and she starts making tourniquets. And had this woman not been there, when I was hit, that engine was literally sitting in my lap almost. Had this woman not been there to make the tourniquets, I never would have survived that car wreck. I kind of passed out from blood loss, and most of the story that I have from then on is kind of secondhand from other people that were there. So my understanding is that I passed out. I was airlifted to a German hospital that was a level 1 trauma center. I underwent surgery. I underwent surgery. It was in Trier, Germany, and from what I understand, am I back? I'm sorry, I lost signal. I kind of live in the boondocks, so my signal out here is a little rough. Okay. I'm trying. Where was I? So, like I said, secondhand knowledge of most of the rest of the stay is that I died 3 times, between the airlifting and the surgery. They tried very hard to put my leg back together, and it was successful with a lot of metal for a long time. I stayed in Germany for about three months until I was finally authorized to come back stateside, and I got transferred to Fort Gordon, Germany, or Fort Gordon, Georgia, from Germany, and I had the most awesome orthopedic surgeon that he didn't have a great bedside manner, but he was awesome at his job, and that's what counts. He he ended up amputating my leg. We tried to save it for about 6 months, but I was on pain medicine so bad. I got addicted to the pain medicine, and that wasn't the life I wanted for myself. I couldn't take care of my daughter, who was like 3 at the time. It was a rough time for me. I ended up moving back with my parents, and if it hadn't been for them, I never would have survived everything that I went through. My family, my friends, without that support structure, I wouldn't have survived. I went into depression. I was suicidal. There's just so many things. And if anybody wants to talk about this in further detail, I'm always open to talk about my story. So fast forward, after the accident, I ended up getting divorced, and I became a single mom on welfare because I was disabled and I couldn't work. Nobody would hire me. And then I got introduced to wheelchair basketball. And I ended up getting a scholarship to go back to school. And through the course of the accident, I really had an enlightenment. I found Jesus. I was introduced to Jesus. Became a Christian. Started going to church. When before I didn't want anything to do with church. I was one of those people that you didn't talk to about Jesus. I mean, none of my friends would talk to me about Jesus. They knew that I was just standoffish about it. And after this accident, I just knew that there was there was a purpose for me. And I told myself that if I survived through it all, that I would try to glorify Him with the rest of my life. And that's where I'm at right now. I went back to school. I became a nurse. That was, oh God. There is no way I could have afforded to go back to school. I was totally blessed. You can't get a bachelor's in nursing. I think I ended up having to pay $3,000 for it. That's just unreal. So I got my nursing degree while I was living in Illinois, and I met my second husband there. I didn't meet him in Illinois, but I met him while I was going to school. We ended up getting married. He was born with cystic fibrosis, and for those of you who don't know what cystic fibrosis is, it's basically it's a terminal illness that mucus collects in your lungs, and you can't breathe. So you suffocate in your mucus. And in 2000, he had a double lung transplant, and he was doing wonderful. I mean, you wouldn't really have known anything wrong with him. And we met, we got married. He raised my daughter like she was his. He was the most awesome guy ever. And then we moved down here after I graduated and got a little experience. We moved back south, and we moved to Louisiana. And he was raised in North Baton Rouge, so that's where we came. I came back down here so we could be near his family. He has awesome parents and awesome family. In 2013, I think, we moved out closer to Amite because we were living in a subdivision in a very tiny house, and I couldn't take it. And he's a gun instructor, and he wanted to be able to stand out his back door and shoot. And so we bought land and a house out closer to Amite. In 2013, that was after We had gone on this wonderful Hawaii vacation, and when we got back, after we signed the papers of the house, we found out that his kidneys were failing. A side effect of the transplant medicine that you get is that it hurts your kidneys. And his kidneys were failing. So we spent time after time in the hospital, and they worked him up for a kidney transplant. His sister was going to donate to him, and when they did, they found esophageal cancer. So he had to go through chemo and radiation, and he had a rough time with that. After that, he got infections, chronic infections. And ultimately, he died June 29th of last year. I woke up one morning and he just wasn't right, wasn't breathing right. I tried to rush him to the hospital, but he collapsed and his heart stopped before I could get him there. And he ended up with brain damage, and I ended up having to withdraw care. And he passed away on June 29th of last year. So, I kind of went into a depression after that. He was my rock. He was my everything. And then in March 11th, 1 year to the day after his nephew had gotten killed in a car accident, and we buried him, my house flooded. They said my house would never flood. I'm 30 feet above the flood level, and my house flooded. I had 3 amazing neighbors who brought themselves, their wives, their children, and I have one that's a farmer. He brought his paid help, and they helped me go through every room in my house, and we got rid of everything. And I lost 5 trailer loads full of stuff out of my house. A lot of it was my husband's stuff, and I told myself that was him telling me it was time to purge. So had it not been for those 3 families, I don't know what I would have done. Because I was having a rough time. So I was totally blessed with them. They took time out of their schedules to come help me. Fast forward to August, and I get flooded again. In March, I got almost a foot of water. I had put new tile floor down where the hardwood was that I ripped up. So I didn't have to rip up floors. But I had put the sheetrock back up, so I had to rip up the sheetrock that I had just put up. I just don't even have words to say how devastating going through not 1 but 2 in a year. Not even a year. It was 5 months and 1 day, I think, between the 2 floods. And I just want everyone out there to understand that flood victims, we lose everything. And, the smallest kindness, the smallest little bit of, somebody brought me some toiletries after the first flood, and I just started crying because everything had gotten wiped away. And I didn't even have that. You just don't understand how much it helps just to have that little bit of extra supplies. So everyone out there who's sending the supplies, who's giving us the supplies, you have no idea how much that helps us. As far as how I got to be with the Cajun Army, I actually started out with the Cajun Navy after this last flood. After this last flood, I contacted both the Cajun Army and the Cajun Navy, and it just so happens that the Cajun Navy called me back first, because I felt like this time I had lost everything before, but this time I didn't have a whole lot to lose because everything was gone before. So this time it was so much easier. I didn't have the help that I had last time. It was just me and my teenage daughter. And so we ripped out the sheetrock and threw all the stuff out at the curb. And I was done relatively quickly because I had, just taken out the screws, and because I had already put everything right back up. I didn't have to go through and cut everything like all these people this time did. And I kind of felt like I was blessed because I only got 5 inches this time. I got almost a foot last time. I was really blessed compared to some of these other people. I mean, stories of 7 feet of water in their house is just insane to me. I feel like I was blessed to only have the 5 inches that I had this time. We already had the knowledge. We knew what to do, so we kind of tackled it and got right on it and was able to get all the wet stuff out before the mold happened. So I felt like this time around it was time for me to go out and help others. So I contacted the Cajun Navy and the Cajun Army, and I said, I'm willing to help. What do you need? Just so happens that the Navy called me back first. At that point, they had suspended the rescues for the most part. But they needed help with supply and distribution, so that's what I did for them. I was calling distribution centers, working the admin side of everything. And then in the middle of a conversation with the Vice President, Sean Boudreau, he just stopped me and he's like, well, wait a minute, you're working supply. And then I had mentioned that I was doing demo with the Cajun Army because I had already contacted them and they put me on a demo team. And he's like, well, why don't we just set you up with the Cajun Army supply and distribution? So then I started working supply and distribution with the Cajun Army as well as doing demo. And quite frankly, if they asked me to sweep floors, I'd sweep floors. Whatever to help people out. I'm not real, I don't have to do one specific thing. I'll do whatever needs to be done to help. I want to help other people that, back whenever I was getting my nursing degree, I knew that helping people was what I wanted to do. And quite frankly, if I could get paid to go out and help people like this and be able to make my mortgage payments, I probably would do it. I love nursing. It's a passion, but I love this too. And it's a different kind of love. I'd love to be able to do both. It's been a journey for me working both the Cajun Navy and the Cajun Army. I believe I started out with the Navy, and now I think I'm working a little bit more with the Army than I am with the Navy. And I today we went in and demoed a trailer. I had to this point I had not demoed a trailer, and the mold, the yuck, the it's just indescribable. The smell, the devastation, and then the joy and just happiness that these owners have whenever you finish helping them out, and now they can just put fans and dehumidifiers in there and they might actually be able to save their home. It's an indescribable feeling. The devastation down here, I mean, we are a month out from this, and there are still a good 600 houses on the list to do, because the little old ladies and the little old men don't have family to help them. We are desperate for volunteers. And I don't think that you will quite understand the devastation. You're from Washington State, New Jersey, New York, wherever you're from. I don't think you will understand the devastation and the heartbreak until you arrive here. I'm sorry, I'm trying not to move it. I guess the answer to why I'm here and why I do what I do is simply because this is what I want to do. I want to help people. I feel like, and I don't want to be overly Christian and religious, but I feel like God has put me on this earth for a reason. And whether that's to help people, to inspire people, whatever it is, I want to do it. I have so many testimonies, for instance, before this flood happened in December, I had a partial knee replacement. And I was out of work. So then, sorry, my dog is barking. So in December I had surgery, and then whenever I went to go back to my full-time job, they told me I didn't have a position there. So I was out of a full-time job, and I had been working a second job with an agency, so I just kind of went full-time with the agency. Well, about a week and a half before this flood happened, I sold the house that we had in North Baton Rouge, and I was able to put money in our savings. So when this flood hit, I called work and I said, I'm not coming in. And they were a little stunned, and I said, look, there are people that are suffering. There are people that need help. So I have been trying ever since then to work full-time helping people, whether it's, doing admin work, whether it's doing the demo work, whatever it is. I'm trying to help. And I don't think that had I kept to that job, I would be able to do this. I don't think if I hadn't sold my house, I wouldn't be able to do that. It was God. I mean, I can't give you another reason other than God working so much in my life. And, someone told me one time, I had somebody ask me, it seems like bad things always happen to you. Which, I guess, in hindsight, maybe it does. But I don't like to look at it as bad things. I believe that the closer you get to doing good and being the hands and feet of Jesus, the more the devil's going to attack you. And you're going to have trials and tribulations. And I feel like each one of my trials and tribulations have made me a stronger person. And that's what I try to convey to everyone that I meet. That's what I try to teach my daughter, is that you're going to have obstacles in life, but you got to find a way to come around them. You know, I might not do things as fast as in the disability world we call them able-bodied people, which are people with two legs. You know, I might not do things as fast as able-bodied people, but I find a way to do them. It might be a little slower, but they get done. And I'm determined for that to happen. I'm determined to help. I'm determined to make a difference one person at a time. And, you know, I like to hear that I am an inspiration to whoever, because, you know, it gives me courage that what I'm doing, I'm on the right path. I try real hard to be the hands and the feet of Jesus. I'm not perfect, but I try real hard to help out as much as I can. I've had a lot of decisions in my life, and, you know, with every decision you have paths to take. And, you know, when I was in high school, we had to learn a poem, and I think it's kind of fitting of kind of how life is for me. And, you know, there's one passage of it that kind of sticks out in my mind that I kind of repeat to myself over and over again. And I'd like to read it to you. So it's The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. And the passage that I like so much is, I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. And that kind of sums up my life. You know, I've made choices in my life. I've tried to make the good paths, taking the good choices, and I don't think that I would change anything in my life if I could go back. I have seen God work over and over in my life. And if I could go back and do my life over again and have two legs, I don't know that I would. I might have one leg, but I think that one leg kind of gives me inspiration and character, and it has made me who I am today. And I don't think that I would change who I am right now for anything. You know, I like who I am. And, you know, like I tell people, you know, I am me. I'm the only me, and I'm just a different kind of person. I try real hard to do what's right. I just can't express to you how desperate we are down here for help. I mean, roughly 20 houses to every one volunteer. Roughly 600 to 650 houses on the list to be demoed. This weekend we had one weekend day where we had 75 volunteers, and then come Monday we had 6 volunteers. We are desperate, you know, to help these people out, and we can't do it if you don't volunteer. I mean, we are entirely volunteer based. We are desperate for volunteers. Churches, fire stations, police. I don't care where you work, what you do. Get together with your coworkers and come down for a weekend. Come down for a couple of days during the week. Whatever you have to do. If you need someplace to stay, transportation, we can set that up here at the Cajun Army. All you have to do is ask. I just can't express to you how desperate we are for the help. There are so many houses, and today I took a piece of paneling down that the back side of it was completely covered with black mold. How are these people supposed to get back in their homes when they're like this? And they're disabled, they're old, they're single, they're widows, they're people with no family. One guy today, he'd been on this property. He was, I forget whether he said 4th or 5th generation on this property. And it flooded. And here I am pulling down paneling that is just caked in black mold. Because here we are 4 weeks out. And he is disabled and hadn't been able to demo it. We are desperate for people to band together and to come help. I can't express that enough. Transportation. You need someplace to stay. We got you covered. I think it's come to the point now where houses are going to start being lost if we cannot get these people taken care of. And we are just so many people, that can go out and do this. If we don't have more help, then we can't do more houses. So talk to your coworkers. Make a day to come out and volunteer. If you work Monday through Friday, come out on a Saturday or a Sunday and volunteer. And let your whole office see what helping these people is like. I mean, it is a phenomenal experience to be able to help someone like we did. Another house that we got today, we yanked up the floor, and after we were finished at her house, this little old lady started crying. How can you even express what that makes you feel when this little old lady is telling you that you have just saved her house? It's just, it's incredible to be able to help these people. It's an honor to be able to help these people. And the devastation down here is just still unreal. There are still towns that have just now had waters recede. Baton Rouge isn't the only one affected. We were affected from Robert all the way to Lafayette, west to Lafayette, and south to west of New Orleans and get on. Maurepas, Port Vincent, places like that were badly hit and desperate for help. Because they just can't. I mean, some of these towns, 90% of the houses were affected. we desperately need help. Desperately need help. And, I don't know what else to say other than we're desperate. Please contact us. Contact me. Contact someone else from the Cajun Army. Contact the Cajun Navy. Go to thecajunarmy.com and sign up as a volunteer. If you know anyone whose house has been affected, go to thecajunarmy.com and sign them up to get put on the list. We are trying to help as many people as we can. We've got supplies coming in and trying to help as many as we can. We have an Amazon list at thecajunarmy.com. If you can't come, go to Amazon and buy something and have it sent to us. If you can come but you don't have the money, talk to your family members. Have somebody help you with the money to get down here, and we can house you and transport you once you get here. Maybe your neighbor can provide you the money and you can provide us the labor. Teamwork is how we're working down here. It's incredible how God is pairing people up. I got to demo a house the other day and found out that the lady was a widow, and we had common ground and stuff to talk about as we were shoveling yuck into wheelbarrows and taking it to the street. The people that I have met while I've been down here, while I've been helping, that have come down here, selflessly to help us, they're just incredible, coming from everywhere, New England, Florida. Y'all saw Ray, the 911 responder, I don't know, 4 or 5 nights ago. He's an incredible guy. I mean, Trisha Joe's incredible. You don't know how helpful you can be until you get down here and, 2 or 3 people can go into a house and knock out a house, Some houses are bigger and require more people, but you have no idea how helpful you could be, Talk to your work and see if a team can come. A church, a team could come, Somebody talked about doing mission work earlier. I've been on so many missions, all the way from China and Taiwan to Peru and Mexico. This is a mission. The devastation here rivals third world poverty in some places. The mission grounds that I go to in Peru and Mexico are very similar. That's just incredible here in the United States. The Red Cross isn't really doing a whole lot. We need as much help as we can get. And I guess, I kind of wanted to end everything on one of my favorite scriptures, Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper and not to harm you, plans to give you hope in a future. You don't understand that you're volunteering for this, for us down here to help us, gives us a hope in a future. You are giving these people hope in a future that their homes will be put back together, that there's an end in sight to this, that they won't lose all of their belongings and their home, We need volunteers to come down and to help us. We need you to be the light in this darkness. So I guess I'm just gonna kind of leave it there tonight. I don't even know. I think I've been on way too long. Sorry, I talk a lot. But I just want everyone out there to know that I appreciate you, and I appreciate that you think I'm an inspiration. And if anyone ever wants to talk, I'm always available. So I am going to finish with that, and just ask that, please help us out as much as possible. Thanks.